Wow, wow. Wow, wow. Wow,
Hello, hi, and how's it going today? It's another beautiful day out. Thank you for joining me on this Patreon episode for The Shadows. The sister brother podcast, whatever you want to call it, of the Patreon podcast. There we go. It's a better one. Patreon podcast of Beneath the Shadows. I really appreciate you being here and supporting the show because you're here, here listening to my dogs yelp in the background because he's a fucking asshole. Anyway, you're here supporting. You're here on this Patreon, and I know you're supporting because you're doing that. And even if this is a bonus episode or anything of that nature, you're here listening, and I appreciate the fuck out of you. So thank you so much. Today, we will be examining the story of the Mary Celeste, a merchant brigantine ship that was in the 19th century and had its crew mysteriously vanish on a trip in December of 1872. They were last heard from in November of 1872, and there's a lot of conspiracies and theories behind what may have happened to them. So we're going to dive on in. We're going to pull those details out of the shadows. I appreciate you being here once again. Yeah, let's get going. The ship we know as the Mary Celeste, or incorrectly called the Marie Celeste, M-A-R-I-E instead of Y, was originally christened the Amazon. Built in 1861 in Spencer's Island in Nova Scotia, the Amazon was a sturdy two-mast brigantine measuring about 100 feet, 99.3 in length, with a gross tonnage of 198 tons, or 436,515 pounds. Don't know why that was so hard for me. Constructed from locally sourced wood, the vessel was designed for transatlantic trade, a reliable addition to a fleet servicing Canada, England, and the Caribbean. Its initial voyages, however, would be marked by a series of misfortunes that some would later claim as a sign of an ill-fated vessel. I apologize if you guys hear my dog in the background. He's fighting or playing, I guess is a better word for it. He's playing with the other dog we have. It's Zeus and Zelda. Zeus is the baby. Zelda's 6 at this point. Playing with Zelda, though, and he's yelping and being a fucking whiny baby about it. But he's always the one being an asshole and biting her and stuff, and then he gets all yelpy and whiny and cry like a little bitch. All right. Really quick, let's take a look at a brigantine ship compared to others such as sloops or brigs. A brigantine is a two-mast sailing vessel with a fully square-rigged foremast and at least two sails on the main mast, a square topsail, and a gaff sail mainsail behind the mast. The main mast is the second and taller of the two masts. By the first half of the 18th century, the word had evolved to refer not to a kind of vessel, but rather to a particular type of rigging or style of masting. Two-masted with her foremost fully square rigged, and her mainmast rigged with both a fore and aft mainsail, which is called a gaff sail, and square topsails and possibly top gallant sails. After the sloop, the brigantine was the next most popular rig for ships built in the British colonies in North America before 1775. A sloop, now that I've mentioned it a couple of times, is a sailboat with a single mast, typically having one headsail in front of the mast and one mainsail behind the mast. Such an arrangement is called a fore and aft rig, which is what I had also mentioned as part of the brigantine setup. The brigantine was swifter and more easily maneuvered than a sloop or schooner, hence was employed for piracy, espionage, and reconnoitering, or for supply or landing purposes in a fleet. Brigs, brigantines, and sloops were all used in piracy throughout the years, though, as larger capacity meant the possibility of carrying more loots and treasures. The brigantine could be of various sizes, ranging from 30 to 150 tons of burden. A brigantine is generally larger than a sloop or schooner, but smaller than a brig. So the Mary Celeste was already a large brigantine to start, and will actually get larger when it's expanded, mainly to help cope with the increasing shipping demands throughout the transatlantic route. For her main voyage in 19 for her main voyage in June of 1861, the Amazon set sail for Five Islands, Nova Scotia, to load timber for a transatlantic journey to London. Captain McClellan, who oversaw the loading, fell ill and worsened rapidly. The ship returned to Spencer's Island, where McClellan passed away on June 19th. Command was then passed to John Nutting Parker, who resumed the trip to London. Along the way, Amazon experienced several mishaps, colliding with fishing equipment near Eastport, Maine, and later striking and sinking a brig in the English Channel after leaving London. Parker remained at the helm for 2 years, during which Amazon primarily operated in the West Indies trade. Let's break for a second to look at the West Indies trade. To break that down a little bit very quickly. The West Indies trade refers to the extensive network of commerce between the Caribbean islands, the American colonies, which was, later the United States, and Europe, starting in the 17th century and peaking during the 18th and 19th centuries. This trade route formed a crucial part of what's known as the triangular trade, involving the movements of goods, people, and resources among the three primary regions, Europe, Africa, and the Americas. The Caribbean, known as the West Indies, was the center of sugar production, where plantation economies thrived due to the tropical climate, ideal for growing sugarcane. Sugar quickly became a highly valuable export in European markets, driving much of the region's economic activity. Other products like molasses, rum, which was distilled from molasses, coffee, indigo, and tropical fruits were also traded, but sugar was the dominant commodity, known as white gold for its immense profitability. Ships traveling from the American colonies often brought raw materials and foodstuffs, such as fish, lumber, grains, and livestock, which were critical for sustaining. I don't know why I put so much emphasis on that. Critical for sustaining the Caribbean's plantation economy. In return, the goods received, like molasses, sugar, and rum, were either consumed domestically or exported to Europe. The West Indies trade fueled economies on both sides of the Atlantic, especially ports like Boston, Charleston, and New York, which became key hubs of commerce and shipbuilding. However, this trade was also deeply intertwined with the transatlantic slave trade, as enslaved Africans were forcibly brought to the Caribbean to work on sugar plantations under brutal conditions. The labor of enslaved Africans was essential to the productivity of these plantations, creating vast wealth for European and American merchants and landowners, at the expense of human suffering and exploitation. By the early 19th century, anti-slavery movements and the eventual abolition of the slave trade began to reshape the West Indies economy. The Caribbean sugar trade continued, but with shifts towards wage labor systems and diverse economic interests, as slavery was slowly abolished in the British and French colonies. In 1861, Amazon crossed over to France, where she was painted in Marseille, possibly by Henri de Pellegrin, a prominent maritime artist of the Marseille school. William Thompson took over as captain in 1863 and led Amazon until 1867. These years were largely uneventful. A mate on board later noted, "We went to the West Indies, England, and the Mediterranean, what we call the foreign trade. Not a thing unusual happened." In October 1867, however, the Amazon ran aground in a storm near Cape Breton Island, and was damaged beyond repair, leading her owners to abandon her as a wreck. She was acquired as a derelict in poor condition as a result of disuse or neglect. On October 15th, by Alexander McBean of Glass Bay, Nova Scotia. Glass Bay? I hope it's Glace Bay. That's pretty dope. Glace, Glace Bay, B-A-Y. Acquired by Alexander McBean on October 15th as a derelict. Within a month, McBean sold the wreck to a local businessman who in November 1868 sold it to Richard W. Haynes, Dick Haynes, an American mariner from New York. Haynes purchased the wreck for $1,750, and invested an additional $8,825 to restore it, and that's 1868 money. He appointed himself captain, and by the end of December of 1868, registered the vessel as an American ship under a new name, the Mary Celeste, with the collector of the Port of New York. In October of 1869, Haynes lost the ship to his creditors, who then sold it to a New York-based consortium led by James H. Winchester. Over the next 3 years, the consortium's membership shifted several times, though Winchester consistently maintained at least a half share, or half of the shares. In early 1872, a significant refit costing $10,000 dramatically altered the ship's dimensions and capacity. As I mentioned earlier, she got a refit, or got redone, a little upgrade. Her length increased to 103 feet from 99.3 before. The width was increased to 25.7 feet, and the depth to 16.2 feet. Structural modifications included a second deck, extensions to the poop deck, new transoms. I don't know what a transom is. I didn't look it up. I'm a dummy. And replacements of various timbers, which raised her tonnage to 282.28 from like 198 or something before. Crazy. As of October 29th, 1872, the consortium ownership comprised Winchester with 6 shares, 2 smaller investors with 1 share each, and the remaining 4 of the 12 shares held by the newly appointed captain, Benjamin Spooner Briggs. Captain Benjamin Briggs, born on April 24th, 1835, in Wareham, Massachusetts, was the son of a sea captain, Nathan Briggs, and one of 5 brothers, most of whom pursued lives at sea, with 2, including Benjamin, becoming captains. Known for his strong Christian faith, Benjamin regularly attended prayer meetings and read the Bible. In 1862, he married his cousin, of course, get with the times, you know. He married his cousin, Sarah Elizabeth Cobb, and they celebrated with a Mediterranean honeymoon aboard his schooner, Forest King. The couple had 2 children, Arthur, born in 1865, and Sophia, born in 1870, keeping the lineage strong, keeping the bloodline great. The DNA is just fighting, fucking going. It's gonna be kicking with like 20 extra chromosomes. By Sophia's birth, Briggs had established himself as a highly respected and accomplished mariner. Despite thoughts of leaving the seafaring life to enter business with his older brother Oliver, Benjamin instead invested his savings into a stake in the Mary Celeste, following his brother's similar investment in another vessel. In October 1872, Briggs took command of Mary Celeste after a significant refit, setting his course for Genoa, Italy. Genoa? I don't know which one. It's Genoa, but it might be Genoa, with a cargo of over 1,700 barrels of denatured alcohol, a valuable load for the European market. Alongside him were his wife Sarah and two-year-old daughter Sophia, while their son Arthur stayed with his grandmother. Briggs was particular about his crew, ensuring each member was competent and reliable. His first mate, Albert G. Richardson, was both experienced and married to a relative of James Winchester, part owner of Mary Celeste, while second mate, Andrew Gilling, was a skilled New Yorker of Danish descent. Steward Edward William Head, newly married, was recommended by Winchester himself. The remaining crew comprised of 4 German sailors from the Frisian Islands, brothers Volkert and Baz Lorenzen, Arian Martens, and Golib Gudschal. I think it's Gudschal. Goudschal. Gudschal. Each described as peaceable and first class. In a letter to his mother, Briggs expressed confidence in his crew, and Sarah echoed this in her own note, remarking on their capable demeanor. As the Mary Celeste readied for departure, the Canadian brigantine Die Gratia, I think it's De Gratia, the Canadian brigantine De Gratia, Latin for by the grace of God, lay docked nearby in Hoboken, New Jersey, awaiting a cargo of petroleum bound for Genoa with a planned stop in Gibraltar. The ship's captain, David Morehouse, and his first mate, Oliver Devoe, were both seasoned Nova Scotians with strong reputations. Some believed that Captain Briggs and Morehouse were acquainted and possibly shared a friendly dinner the night before the Mary Celeste set sail, though this claim rests on a recollection from Morehouse's widow many years after the event. On November 7th of 1872, Mary Celeste set sail from New York City to Genoa, Italy, stocked with ample provisions and an optimistic outlook. However, despite Briggs' meticulous preparation and the experience of his crew, this voyage would soon take a mysterious and tragic turn. Departing on November 15th, De Gratia followed a similar route to the Mary Celeste. And I don't think you're supposed to say the Mary Celeste, whatever, but maybe you are. I don't know. It's just the name of the boat is Mary Celeste, so it'd be two Mary. I don't know. Just sounds right to say the beforehand or the beforehand. On December 4th of 1872, as De Gratia sailed between the Azores and the Portuguese coast, Captain Morehouse was alerted by his helmsman. Captain Morehouse was alerted by his helmsman to a ship approaching erratically from about 6 miles away. Observing the ship's unsteady course and misaligned sails, Morehouse suspected trouble. Drawing closer, he saw no one on deck and received no response to his signals. He dispatched First Mate Devoe and Second Mate John Wright in a small boat to investigate. As they boarded, they confirmed the vessel was the Mary Celeste, as by the name on her stern, but the ship was eerily deserted. The sails were partially set, some in tatters, and loose rigging dangled over the sides. While the main hatch was secured, the fore and lazarette hatches The fore and lazarette hatches were open with their covers nearby. The ship's only lifeboat, typically stowed across the main hatch, was missing, and the compass had been knocked out. Of place, its glass cover shattered. About 3.5 feet of water sloshed in the hold, an amount that was unusual but not critical for a vessel this size. A hastily abandoned sounding rod used to check the water levels lay on the deck. And yeah, I just gotta say, if I was on a ship, I mean, I don't like open water as it is, but if I was on a ship and there was 3.5 feet of water in the fucking deck underneath, the fucking hold underneath, I would probably want to get the fuck off of there too. I'd think the ship was going down, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know shit about fucking boating or about how much a ship can hold. Or I know bigger ships, larger ships like that, they oftentimes just for buoyancy can let water in or let water out in some areas, or flood holds and then let the water out afterwards. I don't know exactly how it works, but I do know that for buoyancy reasons sometimes they have sections that they can let water into or flood out or do some shit with. Still, not for me. Not the life for me. In the mate's cabin, DeVoe located Mary Celeste's daily logbook with its final entry recorded at 8 a.m. on November 25th. This last position, logged near Santa Maria Islands in the Azores, placed her roughly 400 nautical miles from where De Gratia found her. Inside, the cabin spaces were damp and disheveled from water entering through open skylights and doors, though otherwise intact. Personal items in Captain Briggs' cabin, such as a sheathed I don't know why my tongue doesn't want to do a TH sound there. Sheathed, such as a sheathed sword, remained undisturbed. I cannot talk today. Can't do it. Can't not fucking do it. Though crucial ship documents and navigational tools were missing, the galley was tidy with ample provisions, but no meals had been prepared. There was no evidence of violence or fire. Instead, signs suggested an orderly evacuation by the lifeboat. Returning to De Gratia, DeVoe briefed Morehouse, who decided to salvage the abandoned vessel and sail it to Gibraltar, 600 nautical miles away, where a claim could be filed. Maritime law provided significant compensation for salvaging a ship and its cargo, particularly under dangerous circumstances. Morehouse split his 8-man crew, assigning DeVoe and 2 experienced sailors to the Mary Celeste. While he and the remaining crew sailed De Gratia. Although the weather held relatively steady, both ships were seriously short-staffed, slowing their journey. De Gratia arrived in Gibraltar on December 12th, with Mary Celeste delayed by fog, docking the next morning on the 13th. There, the Mary Celeste was seized by the Vice Admiralty Court pending salvage hearings. So they actually have to do court hearings on the salvaged ship to determine what caused the wreckage or the abandonment of the ship, and then they determine a value, and then they will give a reward to the person that salvaged the ship based on the distance and the difficulty of the salvage. A whole bunch of factors that go into this, so just trying to break it down a little. Seized by the Vice Admiralty Court, pending salvage hearings. DeVoe, reflecting on the taxing journey, wrote to his wife, "I can hardly tell what I am made of, but I do not care so long as I got in safe. I shall be paid well for the Mary Celeste." The salvage court hearings for Mary Celeste began on December 17th of 1872 in Gibraltar, overseen by Sir James Cochrane, Gibraltar's Chief Justice. The case was led by Frederick Solly Flood, Gibraltar's Attorney General, Advocate General, and Proctor for the Queen. That's funny. And Proctor for the Queen in admiralty cases. Sally Flood. It's a weird name, but I like it. I don't know why I like it. Sally Flood. Frederick Sally Flood was known for his stubborn and often was known for his stubborn and often presumptive character. Presumptive. There we go. Historians later describe him as a man whose arrogance and pomposity, interesting, I haven't seen that one too much, pomposity were inversely proportional to his IQ, calling him a fucking dummy. But very hard-headed, very much is what they mean. Very stubborn, as they said before, and someone who couldn't be shifted once his mind was made up. Very, stubborn. Flood's suspicions of foul play were quickly ignited by the testimonies of De Gratia's first mate, Oliver DeVoe, and second mate, John Wright, who described the ship's deserted and disordered state. The New York Shipping and Commercial List echoed Flood's suspicions on The New York Shipping and Commercial List echoed Flood's suspicions on December 21st, suggesting that foul play and alcohol could be behind the mystery. On December 23rd, Flood ordered an official inspection of Mary Celeste, conducted by John Austin, surveyor of shipping, with diver Ricardo Portunato. Ricardo Portunato. Some Italians, fucking whatever. Austin noted cuts on both sides of the bow. On both sides of the bow, like a fucking dummy. Both sides of the bow, which he believed were made by a sharp instrument, and claimed to find what he suspected were blood traces on Captain Briggs' sword. He pointed to the presence of an upright vial of sewing machine oil as evidence that the ship had not encountered violent weather, because it would have been knocked over, is what he's saying, during that violent weather. However, Austin did not consider that the vial had been placed or replaced after the crew's abandonment. Maybe someone else had put it on there. Maybe the people from the De Gratia brought it on. Maybe someone, after they brought it into port, put it on there for some reason. Portunado. What are you having tonight for dinner? Some Portunado. Portunato's examination of the hull found no evidence of collision or grounding, while a later inspection by Royal Navy captains supported Austin's theory that the cuts on the bow had been made deliberately. They also found stains on the ship's rail and a deep gouge that appeared to be axe marks, further fueling Flood's belief in a crime rather than a natural disaster. On January 22nd of 1873, Flood sent the reports to London's Board of Trade, concluding that Mary Celeste's crew had accessed the alcohol cargo, became intoxicated, and violently murdered Captain Briggs, his family, and the officers. So they're saying the rest of the crew fucking got super smashed, said, let's fucking kill the captain, get the hell on out of here, I'm sick of this shit. He suggested the crew had tampered with the bow to make it appear as though a collision had occurred before fleeing in the lifeboat to an unknown fate. Flood suspected Captain Morehouse and his men of concealing critical details, suspecting that Mary Celeste had been abandoned farther east than the logbook. Suspecting that the Mary Celeste had been abandoned farther east and that the logbook had been altered. He could not fathom that the Mary Celeste had drifted such a distance without a crew. because it was like they said like 400 miles from where it last marked in the book. So either they might have went some of. I mean, you gotta think they didn't like mark it right before they abandoned the fucking ship. They're like, oh, I gotta mark where I'm at before people need to know. They probably did it, that morning or the day before, and then something happened overnight or in the morning time, and they were focused on getting shit done or figuring shit out and decided to abandon ship. And so probably on the 26th they abandoned. And they might have sailed some distance before that, some of the 400 miles, but 400 miles is what from the last time they marked a location. All right, I said it earlier about the dog. I apologize. Have you heard my cat at all? Because he sometimes he wakes up. He's getting a little older at this point. Sometimes he wakes up. His name's Chester. He's 9 at this point, I think. Sometimes he wakes up though, and he seems very disoriented, or like sometimes he doesn't know where he's at, and he just meows. He just like meow, meow, meow. And I'm like, bro, you're fine, you're good, you're right here. And they'll like suckle on his leg for a little bit because it's what comforts him. And then he's fine. And he's good. He's just good to go after that. Big old fat orange cat. Very chill. Very demure. On some date, January 15th of 1873, James Winchester, principal owner of Mary Celeste, arrived in Gibraltar to seek the ship's release and continue her voyage. Flood, however, demanded a $15,000 surety, which Winchester couldn't pay. He soon learned that Flood also suspected him of deliberately hiring a dangerous crew to harm Briggs as part of an elaborate conspiracy, like maybe some insurance shit or something, which actually will tie into later to the story, which is kind of funny. During heated exchanges on January 29th, Winchester defended Briggs' integrity, stating that he would only have abandoned the vessel in extreme circumstances. Flood's theories took a blow when scientific analysis showed that the stains on Briggs' sword and elsewhere on the ship were not blood. This was followed by a report from Horatio Sprague, the American consul in Gibraltar, who had consulted Captain Schufelt of the U.S. Navy. Schufelt concluded that the marks on the bow were likely natural, resulting from the sea's effects on the wood. So, like natural wear and tear, natural corrosion from sea water, salt water smashing into this wood, as it would likely do. With no solid evidence, Flood reluctantly released Mary Celeste from custody on February 25th. She departed Gibraltar 2 weeks later for Genoa under a new captain, George Blatchford of Massachusetts. The salvage payment was settled on April 8th, with Cochrane awarding €1,700, only about a fifth of the combined value of the ship and its cargo. This award, far below expectations, sparked controversy. Some believed it should have been at least double, if not triple, considering the risk involved in salvaging the abandoned vessel. In closing remarks, Cochrane criticized Morehouse's decision to send De Gratia under Devoe to deliver its petroleum cargo instead of remaining. Cochrane criticized Morehouse's decision to send De Gratia under Devoe to deliver its petroleum cargo instead of remaining in Gibraltar. His tone implied potential wrongdoing, leaving Morehouse and his crew under a permanent cloud of suspicion in the public eye. Suspicion. I always get my whistly going with the fucking S's sometimes. Kind of fucking shit. The abandonment of the Mary Celeste sparked fascination and speculation, intertwining fact with fiction as the mystery captured the public's imagination. In 1883, the Los Angeles Times recounted an embellished version of events, depicting an eerily undisturbed ghost ship with every sail set, the tiller lashed fast. I don't know what the fuck that means. The tiller lashed fast, not a rope out of place, and dinner standing untasted. This description suggested an inexplicable desertion, igniting intrigue worldwide. Then, in 1906, Overland Monthly and Out West Magazine added inaccuracies to further depict a crazy fucking story. Locating the vessel near the Cape Verde Islands, 1,400 miles south of her actual discovery point, and misidentifying the first mate as a man named Briggs. Briggs was the captain, not the first mate. With live chickens supposedly roaming the deck. I have to imagine sailing back in the 19th century was already fucking crazy enough, stressful enough, fucking wild enough without live chickens roaming on deck. I understand. You need meat, you need eggs, you need things to fucking, be able to feed the people that are on board, but fuck these chickens. Fuck those bitches. Throw them overboard, get them out. I'd be kicking those hoes. So sick of them. Pecking at my feet and shit, motherfucker. Arthur Conan Arthur Conan Doyle's fictional story, J. Habakkuk Jeffson's Statement. Jeez. Weird name. J. Habakkuk Jeffson's Statement. It's a name for a story. Published in the Cornhill magazine in 1884, was arguably the most influential fictional retelling of the Mary Celeste incident. In Doyle's account, the ship, renamed Mary Celeste, this is where that name comes from, the mistake comes from that people often make. A lot of it's in just pronunciation, people make it, but sometimes when they're writing about it, they do mix up the Mary and the Marie and do the IE instead of the Y. In this story, though, the Mary Celeste departed from Boston to Lisbon in 1873 under Captain J.W. Tibbs, who carried passengers, including the titular Jepson. It also might be Jepson. It's Jepphson. It's either Jepson or Jeffson. And the dog's in the Popison chair. The narrative described a mutinous plot led by Septimius. The narrative described a mutinous plot led by Septimius Goring, a fanatic who hated the white race and conspired to seize the ship. Although intended as fiction, the story was so captivating that the U.S. Consul in Gibraltar, Horatio Sprague, sought to confirm if any of the elements were true. In 1913, the Strand magazine published a purported survivor's account from a fictional steward, Abel Fosdyke. It's Fosdyke probably. Fosdyk. Fosdyke, who claimed a tragic accident during a swimming contest led to the entire crew's drowning. Sounds so ridiculous. Someone dove off the fucking plank and broke their neck or some shit, and so they drowned the rest of the crew. Despite numerous factual errors, such as misidentifying the captain as Griggs instead of Briggs and describing the crew size inaccurately, the account was published as a potential solution to the mystery. Additional fabrications appeared over time, such as Lawrence J. Keating's 1920s hoax that imagined a tale of mutiny, murder, and conspiracy between the Mary Celeste crew and that of the De Gratia. This narrative gained enough traction that the New York Herald Tribune presented it as fact, prompting one historian to later call it an imputed trick an impudent trick by a man not without imaginative ability. In 1924, Daily Express published another fictionalized account claiming Captain Briggs and his crew had boarded a derelict steamer full of gold and then abandoned the Mary Celeste to begin new lives in Spain. Natural explanations for the abandonment, including the alcohol fumes theory, which portrays that leaking alcohol from the cargo created explosive fumes, prompting Captain Briggs to order a precautionary evacuation in the lifeboat. This theory holds that if the fumes This theory holds that if the fumes did not ignite, that was so hard for me to say. Didn't ignite. The Mary Celeste could have been left adrift while the crew lost control of the lifeboat. Other theories suggest that a waterspout or rogue wave might have struck the vessel, briefly flooding the deck and causing panic. The crew could have abandoned the ship with plans to return, only to be swept away. Equipment failures or unexpected mechanical issues might have led Briggs to believe the ship was in danger, prompting an evacuation that went tragically awry. While pirate attacks or mutiny were speculated, the undisturbed state of the valuables aboard and evidence suggesting a peaceful departure made these scenarios unlikely. Paranormal theories, fueled partly by Doyle's story, also flourished. Rumors of ghostly forces, alien abductions, and sea monsters fed into the supernatural appeal. Fucking Kraken got 'em. Chambers Journal proposed in 1904 that the crew might have been attacked by a giant squid or octopus. You never know. Maybe the Kraken got them. Though improbable, these tales, along with links to Atlantis, the Bermuda Triangle, and the occult, solidified Mary Celeste as an enduring maritime mystery. Blending legitimate theories with fictional embellishments, the mystery of Mary Celeste endures as one of the most fascinating unsolved cases of the sea. In the years that followed, the Mary Celeste was sold multiple times, each new owner struggling to find success with the vessel. The ship seemed to carry an ill fate, a haunting aura, burdening her owners with financial hardship or poor fortune. In 1884, the Mary Celeste came into the hands of Captain Gilman Parker, who plotted a desperate and unscrupulous scheme. He planned to wreck the vessel intentionally off the coast of Haiti and file an insurance claim on her cargo. Parker guided the ship into the Rochelos? I have no Rochelois. Looks like Roche Lois, but it's probably not pronounced like that. Or like Roch Lois. Reef ran it into a reef, running her aground in a shallow, rocky stretch of ocean. Despite his intentions, Parker's scheme slowly unraveled, and he was arrested for fraud. The Mary Celeste's battered hull, now worthless, lay stranded on the reef. Over time, storms and waves shattered her remains, scattering her timbers along the rocky coast. In her final days, the Mary Celeste became a derelict wreck. Lost to the relentless forces of the sea. The Mary Celeste endures as the iconic symbol of an inexplainable desertion. Her name and its common misspelling as Marie Celeste, synonymous with haunting maritime mysteries. The Mary Celeste story continues to captivate inspiring radio plays in the 1930s by Eldugard Peach. Eldugard Peach. What a name. LDU space GARDE space Peach. And Tim Healy, a 1949 stage adaptation, and several novels offering various explanations. In 1935, Hammer Film Productions released The Mystery of the Mary Celeste, renamed Phantom Ship for American audiences, starring Bela Lugosi as a crazed sailor. Although not commercially successful, the film is considered a fascinating period piece. A short film in 1938, The Ship That Died, dramatized various theories, from mutiny and alcohol fumes to supernatural causes. Pop culture expanded on these ideas, including a Doctor Who episode in 1965 that explained the disappearance as a result of Daleks causing panic on board. I think Daleks are part of their show. The Smithsonian Channel's 2007 documentary, The True Story of the Mary Celeste, investigated the case, proposing that a clogged pump and a faulty chronometer, may have led Captain Briggs to believe that they were nearer to shore than they actually were, or that the ship had taken on more water than it actually had, prompting him to abandon ship. In 2020, the supernatural horror movie Haunting of the Mary Celeste portrayed the ship's mystery as the result of supernatural rifts in tectonic plates, capable of swallowing people and animals. The film further solidified Mary Celeste's reputation as a ghostly, ghastly enigma. At Spencer's Island, where the brigantine was built, a monument commemorates Mary Celeste and her lost crew. A memorial cinema shaped like the ship's hull honors her story, which is fucking sick, I think. They fucking made something in the shape of its hull, made it into a goddamn like little amphitheater cinema thing. And commemorative postage stamps have been issued by Gibraltar and the Maldives as a testament to her enduring intrigue. Though her physical remains lie scattered on a Haitian reef, the legend of the Mary Celeste continues to drift across times and seas. The legend of the Mary Celeste continues to drift across time and seas, symbolizing the mysteries of the ocean's never yield. Her story of tragedy and intrigue has inspired countless theories, from plausible to paranormal, and has woven itself into the fabric of maritime lore as one of history's most haunting, unsolved mysteries. And so there you have it, everyone. You have the fucking Mary Celeste. You have her brigantine ass doing merchant shit in the 19th century. You have her crew, good old Captain Briggs and his family, some other first mates, second mates, a couple of crew dudes, all disappearing in late November around Thanksgiving time of 1872, and in early December the ship was found by Captain Morehouse of the De Gratia, and he would recover the ship and be giving shit fucking cash for it. Bullshit ass cash. Like half, maybe a third of the amount that he was fucking owed. Bitch ass motherfuckers. You have to think about it. He not only saved the ship, he also saved all of the cargo that was on that ship, and he got paid fucking nuts for it. Fucking bullshit. I'd be pissed if I was him. And pissed if I was the owner. God, I can't remember his name. The guy that came over and wanted to take the ship out, and he was going to be charged. He's the owner of the Mary Celeste, and he was going to be charged to take the ship out of the dock there because it was still being investigated. Just absurd. I can't believe even living in these times what it was like. James Winchester, the principal owner of the Mary Celeste, that guy, he came over and was gonna demanded $15,000 surety to get his ship out. So yeah, this the guy, I loved his name. What was his name? Flood. Frederick Solly Flood. Fucking Mr. Solly Flood. Uh, doing his due, doing what he does best, being an asshole though, and charging so much cash, not paying out shit, and yeah, ruining people's lives. That is the Mary Celeste though. Please join me next time on Patreon in 2 weeks. So that will be the 21st. On the 21st, right before Thanksgiving, we are going to be diving into interesting story, the Spaghetti House Siege. The Spaghetti House Siege. That is a restaurant called the Spaghetti House, and you're damn right, they serve a lot of fucking Italian shit. So guess what? We're going to be talking about some Italian food. We're going to talk about spaghetti. We're going to talk about 3 motherfuckers who tried to rob that bitch. And it didn't turn out the best for them. Didn't turn out as bad as you might think, but it did not turn out great. We will dive into that on the 21st, right before our own Thanksgiving here. And thank you so much for being here. Until next time, have a great day. Have a great week. Be fucking as awesome as I know you can be, because you're all fucking incredible. Peace out, my shadow people.
Wow, wow, wow.